So on January 6th, the world's most elite consulting firm, McKinsey, replaced 25,000 human workers with AI agents.
Wow.
Right. Let that number just hang in the air for a second. 25,000 of the most analytical, highly educated jobs on the planet just wiped off the board by algorithms.
Yeah, and it's not like they just downsized. They fundamentally replaced them.
Exactly. But to figure out how the surviving humans are going to keep their jobs, their rivals aren't, looking to server farms in Silicon Valley. They're actually sending their top executives to study a 2,000-year-old Japanese philosophy.
Which is honestly the ultimate paradox of our time. I mean, as our technology accelerates into this terrifyingly efficient landscape, the only viable defense mechanism we have left is an ancient analog mindset.
Right, because the underlying truth here is that AI is just an execution engine.
Exactly. It is incredibly efficient at finding answers, but it is fundamentally incapable of deciding where humanity should actually go next. It completely lacks a compass.
And building that compass is our mission for you today on this deep dive. If you're listening to this right now, feeling the heat of automation creeping into your own industry, you really need to hear this.
Definitely. Today we're dissecting a lecture titled, What is the True Nature of Japanese People That Astonished Foreign Elites? Restart of Japanese Civilization.
Right, so to understand why these massive Western conglomerates are suddenly obsessed with Japanese philosophy, we have to look at what they're actually losing right now.
Yeah, and the material gives a great example of this. Take the Kyoto Bank situation.
Oh yeah, the credit screenings.
Exactly. Historically, this was a grueling process. It took a human underwriter, 2 full weeks of deep analysis, poring over financials, sensing red flags, working late into the night. But today, an AI system does it instantly.
Instantly. The wait time is just gone.
Right, the overtime is gone. On paper, every modern metric screams that this is a total victory. You've optimized the workflow to 0 friction.
But okay, let's unpack this. It's like using a calculator to pass a math class without ever learning how numbers work.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, you get the correct answer, right?
Yeah.
But you completely lose the internal process. The human worker now just receives a yes or no from the machine.
Exactly. What's completely invisible on a balance sheet is this catastrophic loss of the internal logic generator. When people only receive results and skip the process, they lose vital experience.
Yeah, it's like cognitive atrophy on an industrial scale.
That's exactly what the source is warning about. When the AI hands a junior analyst a finished credit screening, that human hasn't learned the nuance of the market at all.
Right, they haven't developed that crucial gut feeling.
Yeah, the risk assessment intuition that only comes from being in the trenches for 2 weeks. This is the terrifying reality of the AI era. We are losing the human experience of how things are done.
And because we're losing the how, the Western business world is hitting a huge brick wall. The hyper-efficient philosophy that built the corporate landscape has just been perfected by machines.
We literally can't beat the AI at efficiency. So we're forced to find a completely different metric for survival.
Which brings us to a massive initiative by PwC. We are talking about a firm with 270,000 global staff.
That's a massive pool of talent.
Right, and out of that, they handpicked just 141 elites, the absolute top tier. They put them through this grueling 18-month global training program to study future leadership models.
And their final destination for this entire multi-million-dollar search was Tokyo.
Right, Tokyo. And initially, they went in looking at Ikigai, right?
Yeah, they did. A lot of people know Ikigai as the Japanese concept for your reason for being or what gets you out of bed in the morning.
Sure.
But PwC realized pretty quickly that Ikigai can be a very personal, internalized pursuit. The ultimate concept, the actual immune system against AI, lies beyond Ikigai.
Okay, so what is it?
It's a concept called Kokorozashi.
Kokorozashi, which translates roughly as aspiration or deeply held purpose or an unbreakable will.
Exactly.
But wait, honestly, purpose is a staple buzzword in every corporate break room. I mean, every startup has a mission statement.
They do.
So why Japan specifically? If we're facing an existential threat from AI, why wouldn't these cutthroat consulting firms just look to Silicon Valley for a new tech-based solution?
Well, what's fascinating here is that a technological framework is basically just a game of leapfrog. You build a better neural network, and then someone else builds a faster one.
Right. It never ends.
Exactly. Western civilization is feeling deadlocked because its entire system is optimized for the endpoint, the result.
Okay, and Japan is different.
Very. They are turning to Japan because it's an isolated civilization that has nurtured a remarkably long-lasting, completely different form of leadership, optimized for continuity. It's not a buzzword, it's a survival mechanism.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, look at how McKinsey's own CEO, Bob Sternfels, outlines the future. He stated there are three essential skills humans must possess in the AI era.
Okay, what are they?
First, aspiration, which McKinsey Japan explicitly translated back to Kokorozashi. Second, broad perspective judgment. And third, true creativity.
And the source points out that the last two stem from the first one.
Yeah, exactly. You don't just wake up and decide to have broad judgment or true creativity. Those only manifest as a byproduct of having Kokorozashi.
Right, because AI can synthesize the past perfectly, but true creativity requires a relentless will to shape the future.
Right. If you don't have a deep, unshakable aspiration, you're really just reacting to data.
Okay, so to really grasp how powerful this is, we have to look at its historical roots.
Yeah.
This isn't some modern management theory at all.
Not even close. The oldest handwritten record of the word Kokorozashi comes from Prince Shotoku over 1,000 years ago.
Wow, 1,000 years.
Yeah, in his commentary on the Lotus Sutra. And he didn't just casually mention it once. He wrote the word 56 times in that text.
56 times.
Mm.
That is a lot of emphasis.
It really is. It represents an intense vow to never step back no matter what obstacles arise in his quest to bring peace and enlightenment to the people.
And a concept is tied to the samurai spirit. Right.
Yeah, it is the philosophical bedrock of it. There is even classical waka poetry referring to Japan by the ancient name Shikishima, designating it specifically as the precious island of Kokorozashi.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me, though. The philosophy isn't just trapped in ancient poetry. It has literal physical mass today.
You're talking about Izujingu.
Yes, the Grand Shrine. It's the ultimate, tangible proof of Kokorozashi in action. It dates back at least 1,200 years, maybe closer to 2,000.
Yeah, the history there is incredible.
And the way this shrine has survived for millennia is the exact antidote to that cognitive atrophy we were just talking about.
Oh, absolutely. They enact a ritual called Shikinen Sengu. Every 20 years, they completely tear down and rebuild 125 buildings and treasures.
Completely tear them down.
Yeah, perfectly recreating them from scratch every 2 decades. It costs 55 billion yen, funded entirely by private donations, not the government.
Wow. So think about the Parthenon in Greece or the pyramids in Egypt. They're beautiful ruins because those cultures prioritize preserving the physical stones.
Right.
But Isijingu is alive right now because they preserve the experience of building it. They preserve the how.
Exactly. The underlying philosophy driving that massive undertaking is called Tokawaka, which translates to always young. By constantly tearing down and rebuilding, they don't just pass down an object, they pass down the process.
The active, living process of creation.
Right. They are forcing every new generation of carpenters and architects to learn the meticulous details of the craft. And the scale of this forward thinking is just staggering.
Yeah, like the forest, right?
Yes. Right now, there is a 300-year plan in motion to cultivate a dedicated forest specifically to provide the future timber for the shrine.
A 300-year plan, meaning the people out there planting saplings today are fully aware they will be dead centuries before those trees are harvested for the main pillars.
Exactly. They end their own lives completely incomplete in the context of the project.
Wow.
Yet, they do the work with profound gratitude to the ancestors who planted the trees they are currently harvesting today. It's incredible long-term thinking.
It really is.
Yeah.
So how does a modern, hyper-competitive company do that? Especially when the average lifespan of a modern corporation is shrinking every decade.
Well, the numbers prove that this isn't just romantic idealism. Because of this Tokawaka and Kokorozashi mindset, a staggering 65% of all companies on Earth that are over 200 years old are Japanese.
Wait, really? 65%?
Yeah, compared to roughly 11% in the US and 10% in Germany. This long-term thinking literally sustains civilizations.
Okay, so we see how this operates on a macro level, building 300-year forests and outlasting empires. But what does this all mean for you, the listener?
Right, bringing it down to the individual.
Exactly. When you're sitting at your desk looking at a spreadsheet, how do you tap into this? What does Kokorozashi actually look like for a person?
Well, the material defines it by 3 distinct qualities. Number 1, it must be for something beyond oneself.
Okay, so no purely selfish ambition for wealth or status.
Exactly. Number 2, it must be for something beyond one's own lifetime. You know, planting seeds for a harvest you'll never see.
Like the Shrine's forest.
Right. And number three is that each individual possesses a unique one. A specific role, capability, or calling that is completely unique to them.
So you aren't just an interchangeable cog, you bring a specific frequency to the table.
Yes, and sharing this unique role, weaving it with others, is called kizuku, which means building or realizing.
The lecture describes this as a knot, doesn't it?
It does. It acts as a knot tying the visible present to the invisible past and the unseen future.
Okay, so to explain how this collective knot outmaneuvers the threat of AI, the lecture uses a pretty fun analogy.
Yeah, Superman versus Dragon Ball.
Yes. In Western culture, the ultimate archetype is Superman, the lone genius who swoops in to save the day all by himself.
But artificial intelligence is the ultimate Superman.
Exactly.
You are never going to outprocess an AI. You will never outcompute an algorithm on your own.
Which is why it pivots to Dragon Ball. In that show, the ultimate world-saving attack doesn't come from the hero's isolated strength. It requires gathering tiny fragments of energy from every living being and combining it into a collective force.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, true resilience in the face of AI doesn't come from being a lone genius. It comes from understanding your unique role and weaving it into the collective purpose of those around you.
Like the Dragon Ball energy.
Exactly. And this isn't just theory. In 2022, a Guinness World Record was set by gathering the written Kokorozashi of 14,000 children and adults.
Wow, 14,000 people. That is amazing. But I have to ask, how practical is this really?
We knew.
Well, this sounds beautiful, but in a fast-paced corporate environment where AI is breathing down your neck, isn't trying to find everyone's collective purpose going to just slow things down?
Actually, knowing our strength lies in collective purpose, the source offers a very specific framework for daily communication to address exactly that. It's called samurai communication.
Samurai communication, like historical warriors.
Well, it applies to everyone, not just warriors, and it's growing fast. The Kokorozashi Education Project went from being in only 3 municipalities' guidelines 11 years ago to 551 today.
Oh, wow. So what does samurai communication actually look like?
It's built on 3 pillars. The first is samurai listening. This means hearing the unspoken voice of another person's life and recognizing their calling, their Kokorozashi.
Wait, pause right there. Hearing the unspoken voice. Isn't samurai listening going to seriously slow down a Tuesday morning staff meeting?
That's exactly the point, actually. Slowing down to hear the unspoken calling is the goal. AI is incredibly fast, but it completely lacks empathy and intent.
Right, doesn't care about you.
Exactly. The second pillar is samurai viewing. This is where you see the relationship between your life and theirs and make the absolute most of that connection, which they call en, meaning fate or deep connection.
Okay, so taking the time to build these deep connections is the one thing algorithms cannot replicate.
Precisely. And that leads to the final pillar, samurai speaking. This means consciously choosing words that breathe life into that connection, creating what they call an evolved humanity.
An evolved humanity. The material symbolizes this with something called the decode, right?
Yes, the decode. It's about dynamic developmental dialogue. You are speaking directly to that person's potential, engaging their purpose, not just their labor.
I love that. So taking that momentary pause to engage deeply is the literal restart of human civilization.
That's what the lecture calls it. It requires human will, and it brings profound context to the final message given to those elite PwC consultants after their 18-month journey.
What was the message?
Stay true to the fire within. Breathe life into every word. That is the samurai way.
Stay true to the fire within, because the algorithm certainly can't.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the takeaway here is clear. AI is incredible at giving us answers and executing processes instantly.
But it cannot decide where humanity should go. That requires human kokorozashi.
Yes. That burden and that privilege remains entirely ours. So, to our listener, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Go for it.
If the project you are working on right now had to be handed over to someone who won't be born for another 300 years, what would you do differently today to make sure they understand the process and not just the result?
That's a really powerful question.
We'll leave you to think on that. Catch you next time.